Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Jordan Edwards here, and this is the Clockedin podcast. And I'm talking to you guys about what it takes to build the life that you want to create. And there's going to be three subsections here. And before we even get started, I want you to know that we're going to go on a journey. We're going to allow our minds to go down this road and leave space for something that might lead to some expansion in your mind. Because this is the motivational stuff. This is the stuff that's going to change your perspective, change your direction, and change where you're going. So, the three things that we're going to touch on today are going to be control versus not in control, decisions that change our life, and the ability to learn from everyone around us and how we grow. So let's dive into control versus not in control. So, have you ever felt frustrated when you're sitting there and you're like, there's nothing I can do about this situation? This tends to happen all the time to people. They might get stuck at a job. They might not be playing in the sports team. They might be upset with girls or guys or dating or family or any of these things. And the real truth of it is that frustration stems from being in control, not feeling that we're in control. So the ability to do this is when we feel that we're in control, frustration evaporates. Think about arguments that you've gotten into. It's because you're like, they weren't there on time. They didn't make it. They didn't. It's not the accountability. It's not the accountability. It's not taking control. So when you get in situations like this, I want you to think of what can I do if I can control this? When you're sitting there, you're at your job, you don't like your job, you're sitting there, you're thinking, what can I do? I don't like my job. You can do a few things. You can quit. You can start applying to new jobs. You can start a side hustle. You can bring things into your own category. You can do a multitude of different things. So you have to realize that you are in control of your life. Your life is the decisions that you made 5 years ago. And that's in regard to your relationships, to dating, to financials, to everything. It's what you've been doing. And that's what's super important. And the thing I want to bring up is about what I mentioned a little bit earlier, control versus not in control. It's accountability. And the hardest thing is, as I coach my clients, it's that they can be more accountable to me than they are to themselves. And that's not a unique situation. None of us are accountable to ourselves. All of us struggle with it. We need to be accountable to someone. So, how do we be accountable? An example for me where this happened was 75 hard. It's February 2020. Super Bowl just occurred in, yeah, the Super Bowl just occurred. And me and my buddy Franz Bernard are deciding that we're going to do 75 hard and we're going to be serious about it. This is 2 workouts a day. This is for 75 days, no alcohol, eating clean, gallon of water, reading personal development books, 10 pages a day, and taking a progress photo each day. And the reason I say this is because I was accountable to not only myself, but to Andy, who started this program, and to Franz, to showing up each and every day. So that accountability caused me to get in this mode and build momentum where I was doing this for 75 days. Yes, it was hard. Yes, I didn't like it. Yes, but you start to grow to love it because the discipline opens up your area to be like, okay, I have 30 minutes. What do I want to do? I can do whatever I want. I feel accomplished. I feel committed. And that's why these things are important because so much of our time, we just don't take advantage of it. So, me doing this 75 hard activity made me feel in control of my life because I changed my body. I changed the way I was thinking. I changed the decisions I was making. And from that, you don't realize it, but the podcast started because I left enough space. I left space to learn and not fill up all my days with, hey, Jimmy, hey, Danny, hey, Billy, do you guys all want to hang out and just sit at a bar and just live our life? Like, it was a wake up call for me. It was an area where it was, what are we doing with our days? And we planned fun activities because we knew that we had so much time. And that's what made it awesome, is because now waking up at 7 a.m., you're not intimidated of it. Waking up at 5 a.m. We actually were waking up at 4 a.m. and we did that like 3 days into it because we're like, we're just gonna get it more hours in the day, more momentum. We can do more. And that's what it takes. It's the environment and building that control that you're in. So whenever you're in an area of frustration, if it's an area and it's a life we want to create, I want you to remember that you just have to get in control. You have to remember what it takes to get in control and ask yourself that question. What can I do today to get in control? Maybe that's applying for jobs. Maybe that's starting 75 hard. Maybe that's reaching out to a friend to ask for help. Whatever it is, just make sure that you have a direction you want to go when you're getting out of the control. Because when we're not in control, we can get very frustrated, upset, jealous, angry, terrible emotions. We want to be the complete opposite of that. And we're in control, we're happy, we're grateful, we're blessed, and let's be more in that space. So that's the first part of this. The second part of this is that I want you to realize that we blow up these ideas because this overall podcast is about what is it that changes our life? How do we create the life we want? And we sometimes think, oh, it's got to be this brass decision. I have to quit my job. I have to break up with this girl. I have to move to another country. Yes, that will definitely help. However, you do not need to do that. You don't have to do that. And sometimes we think I have to make a drastic move when in reality, it might be a slight move. So let me bring up what I was discussing earlier, the podcast. The podcast was a slight move. I brought up that I did it during 75 hard, that's when I filmed the first episode. We were at the airport, and I've told the story before, but we're at the airport, Naples airport, doing the airplane show, and we meet Wayne Ogden Smith, and we start doing the podcast there. I just say I have a podcast. He's a Vietnam War veteran. I released his episode again a few months back. And the thing is that we can always get started. Now it's the staying committed that's the tough part, because for me to do a podcast, everyone's like, "Oh, did you quit? Like, did you change your whole life? What'd you do?" What people don't realize is the podcast was me, my version of it, the way I viewed it, the way I saw it in the world was making new connections. It was a way for me to meet incredible people, get them on my show, get them in my network, and connect with them. And then build whatever business or rapport on the back end of that. But most people go, "Oh, how many listeners do you have? Where is it streaming on? What are you doing with it?" And the real truth of it is, I just wanted to meet more people, and I wanted people to force meet me, which is what it started to occur, which is incredible. So I tell you these things because the podcast did change my life, but I didn't change my life for the podcast, meaning that we can build things as we go. So let's all start and figure out, and I want you to sit there and think about it. What can you do today to start your new hobby, your new business, your new relationship, your new whatever? What is it that you can do today to change that perspective? And maybe it's having a conversation. Maybe it's listening to a different podcast. Maybe it's going to a different breakfast spot. It can be anything. And it's really just changing the environment or the condition that you're in. Now, for me, the other big one that can change your decision for your life is more of when you think about it, it was travel. So for me, travel is something that I utilize all the time. Ever since it, it's been every single year besides the year of 2020, I've gone international. And that's more of me wanting to, but it's also because that's how I was able to gain different perspectives and see different things. And the truth is that maybe you think travel is difficult, or there's travel inside of the United States, which I also did in 2020. And these were changing the environment. So the 75 hard and the podcast was changing my own condition. That was something that changed who I am. The environment and traveling, that changes your perspective as well. So that can help build the life you want to create because you can see how others are living and you can see what you're enjoying and what you want to do. Because the truth is, we don't do, we stay very comfortable with where we're at. We get enjoyment from the little things, things that used to upset us. We maybe don't do those anymore because we've just gotten used to it. You know what I mean? But the truth is, it still does annoy us. So it's how do we change our life? And it comes from seeing how others are living. So it's that environment or it's the condition on the which we're spending our time. So you have to figure out that question of, do you want to explore and see new perspectives through changing your environment? Or do you want to try new activities, which will change your condition? Those two are the biggest and most pivotal way to change your life because you might see how other people are experiencing it and you might get to understand them a little bit better, which is so important. And the third thing, as we were discussing, is growth. Growth comes from learning. Most people think it was so funny growing up. We were always like, oh, you learn in high school and like you learn in middle school and preschool, and then you go to college and continue learning. And then once you get there, you stop learning. That's the biggest misconception and fallacy because the truth is, learning is the only thing. Learning is everything. And it really helps us understand the world. Because the truth is, and this is one of the biggest things I can take away, is learning from others. So most people think, oh, I don't want to learn from that person. What can I learn from that person? How can that person? You can learn what you don't want. The other thing is when you're looking for a mentor, and this is something I heard very early on, is that most of us want to find someone who's a mentor, and we think of it as this big thing where, oh my God, he's my mentor or she's my mentor, and they have to be the special person. The truth is, mentors, you don't even have to meet nowadays. You don't even have to meet them because the truth is, we have Zoom, we have podcast, we have television, we have YouTube. You could learn from these people consistently without ever speaking to them, and they can change your life. Like I brought up the fact that I had Chris Crone on the podcast. From one of his clips, he helped me purchase my condo because of the information he shared. That's cool. So Chris Crone, who was last week's podcast, is someone that I is a mentor of mine who I didn't meet previous to the podcast. That's bizarre. We live in a different world now where we can consistently learn from different people. The other thing I want to add is that, like for me with Edwards Consulting, there's 5 pillars. So there's mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. Maybe my spirituality is my rabbi. Is my rabbi going to help me with business decisions? Maybe, maybe not. But, or would I ask the guy who sold 4 companies, has a track record, would he be my business? But he's been divorced 5 times. So would I learn relationships from him? Or do you want the person who's been married for 40 years? See, there's different areas and you can learn from different places, from different people in where they have expertise. And I think that's so important because we try to put so much value on people sometimes where they just can't answer everything because they don't know everything. They haven't experienced everything. And that's so important because that's missed out so much. And for a majority of us, we're constantly trying to go, oh, I need one mentor. I need one person in my life. One person's going to change it, which is true. One person can change your entire life. However, it's so important and it's so valuable to learn from everybody you speak with. You might have a sales call, learn from the prospect. You might meet a restaurant owner, learn from them. You might, whoever you go in and meet, whoever you're talking with, it might be your coworker at work, learn from them. Learn from them. It's important. They help you. They help you realize what you like or you don't like. It's so important. And it helps you build that perspective. So, in this short little time together, we've talked about the life we want to create, and we've covered how to eliminate frustration with control versus not control. How do we get in control? And another big one is you can't be angry and grateful at the same time. So when you're in gratitude and you're in this place of, oh my God, I am grateful for my friends. I am grateful for the community I built. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful that I have hands. I'm grateful that I have a support system. I'm grateful for you people listening. Gratitude fills you up and you can't be angry when you're grateful. So that is another big hack. So as we discussed, this is the life you can create, and it comes from control versus not in control, how to eliminate frustration. We talked about 75 hard and how that helped me get in my own conditioning control. We also talked about decisions that are going to change your life and realizing that they aren't this big drastic jump that we make, but in reality, it's us doing little things each day and compounding that effort and working towards that, where you do build up these things. Where how did you travel to 25 countries? By doing a little bit each time, by taking each trip, and it makes the difference. And it's how did you shoot 150 episodes? By shooting one at a time, and it makes all the difference. And it comes from learning from others, learning from those around us. Because if we're open to it and we're able to, then it can make all the difference in the world. And the major thing I want you guys to realize is that we always try to separate business and friendships. And in reality, we can learn from everybody about business from friends, and we can learn friendships in business. So it's so important to leave that open and leave that space. And as I mentioned before, leave space for your mind to go, wait, what is he talking about? How does that work? Because at any moment, we can change our lives and we can create what we desire. And I ask for you, stop holding back, start opening up, and keep pushing forward each day and stay clocked in, because that's going to make all the difference. So please reach out to me. Love to hear from you. Instagram, DM, social media. You can shoot me an email at jordan@edwards.consulting, and we can do a complimentary coaching session. Can't wait to speak to you soon. And I hope you got value from this. Thank you.